Must see. Former Democrat Batya Ungar Sargon describes Trump's tariffs program that is saving the U.S. working class. And Piers Morgan panel left stunned because they're trying to demonize the tariffs when they don't understand. People, they're not making they're not catching the point that this is going to bring American jobs back. These these skilled worker jobs and stuff like that we need, we're going to bring a bunch of those back to the country. It's going to make us prosper. So I hope that's the point that she's making. I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm gonna be watching it with y'all, reacting with it as I see it. So we're gonna play the clip, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get right into it. Now, this comes from the Gateway Pundit, and they report that on Wednesday, Newsweek opinion editor Batya Ungar Sargon, the author of the best-selling book Second Class, How the Elites Betrayed America's Working Men and Women, joined Piers Morgan, Carrie Lake, and others in a panel discussion on President Liberation Day announcements, including reciprocal tariffs for U.S. trading partners. Again, this is going to actually help a lot of the working class, the skilled workers, the blue-collar workers. This is going to help a lot of them. For the first time in a generation, the U.S. has a president who prioritizes the American worker and middle-class families. Piers Morgan dedicated his show to the Trump tariffs programs that were introduced on Liberation Day. Batya Ungar Sargon, author of the Second Class, How the American Elites Betrayed the Working Men and Women, didn't hold back. A former Democrat turned populist champion, Batya explained how Trump's economic nationalism is finally putting the brakes on Wall Street's unchecked control over American life. Batya emphasized that Trump's tariffs policies aren't theoretical, they're already working. Batya is always someone you want to stop and listen to. This former Democrat really gets Trump. Sorry. All right, so let's get to the clip here. Here we go.
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things, like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year, and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war. I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class. And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at zero. Fentanyl is at record lows for the last 10 years. We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this country since January 21st. So they have already worked.
Yeah, and we're gonna get $5 trillion more. Apple already talked about bringing back jobs here. A lot of corporations are bringing a lot of their business back to our country, and the American people are going to benefit from that.
How long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is here. American Compass did a survey of just GOP voters. We know now that the majority of Americans who make under $100,000 a year now vote for the Republican Party. So that was almost a means-tested poll. And they found that 77% of GOP voters, the working class, not the elites, said that when they were asked, they said they would be willing to pay higher prices if it meant bringing back manufacturing, because of course in their mind they are going to be the beneficiaries of those manufacturing jobs.
Facts. It's going to hurt in the short term, but in the longer term we're all going to be better for it. That's what this is about. I mean, to get out of this mess that we're in, it's gonna take a little bit of, it's gonna be a little bit of pain, growing pains getting through that. But if we made it through 4 years of Biden and his build back better, we made it through that terrible economy when the media lied and pretend like nothing was happening, inflation wasn't happening, it was transitory, all this other nonsense that they told us. We made it through that. We can make it through a couple of months of hardship to eventually have America back on track where it needs to be.
Canada, a lot of people are asking, why Canada? We love Canada. Canada are our friends. Why wage this, tariff war on Canada? And of course, the answer is simple. Canada and Mexico are the back door to the American economy because we have this trade deal with them, the USMCA. So if there are no tariffs on China, if Canada and Mexico do not match our tariffs on China simply builds car manufacturing plants in Mexico, Canada and in Mexico, which they have already done, and they use that in order to get tariff-free cars into the American market.
Facts. That is a backdoor way. That's how they get around. That's how they get around it. Is going through the back door, using Canada, using Mexico to get around our tariff. That's exactly what they do. So the only way to ensure that doesn't happen is to also tariff Canada and Mexico.
Which is exactly what President Trump is trying to get away from. So what he wants from them is for them to close that back door. And I just want to emphasize again, back in the 70s, when the majority of the GDP in America was in the middle class, right? That's kind of like the golden era that we look back to of when the economy was really healthy and working class people felt that they could afford a middle class life. 25% of our economy was in manufacturing. Today, the top 10% control over 60% of the GDP. And that is a direct result of the fact that only 10% of our economy is manufacturing. And the largest share, 20%, is in finance and real estate, which is, of course, how other countries we have artificially inflated the dollar, which makes the product of the American worker unaffordable. And so what the tariffs are doing are simply saying we are refusing the race to the bottom in wages. It is unfair to the American worker, which I think we have all basically agreed on at this point.
Facts. I mean, I can't argue against anything that she said. I 1000% agree with everything that she said. Give it time. Give it time to work. We have to stop putting these countries before us. We're already kicking the can down the road when it comes to debt. We're not doing anything to control the debt. And so we have to do something about this. And tariffs is a great way to help also get rid of our own income taxes and no tax on tips. Like, these are things that the majority of the working class is asking for and want, and Trump is trying to implement these things, and then you got the elitists fighting against it. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.